Okay, we're ready to load and shoot a couple of muzzle loaders, and we've selected two of CVA's most popular break action guns, the CVA Accura V2 and the CVA Optima.
Now remember, all types of muzzleloaders have one thing in common. The powder and the bullet must always be loaded down the muzzle. So while we will only be shooting these two modern inline muzzleloaders, the process would be similar in many ways if we were shooting a traditional flintlock or caplock gun.
Okay, with that being said, let's talk about the two guns we'll be shooting. Now, since we want to demonstrate a lot of the things we've discussed today, we'll be mixing things up with these two guns. The Optima is set up with a Konus 3 to 10 by 40 scope. The Accura V2 is set up with open fiber optic sights. And in the Optima, we will use IMR White Hot's pelletized propellant, while in the Accura, we will use a measured charge of Pyrodex RS. In both guns, we'll use Winchester 777-209 primers. This will provide you with a variety of demonstrations that will likely answer just about any of your loading or shooting questions.
O'Neil, let's start out with the Accura V2. It is a .50 caliber and it's set up with open sights. Now we have already lined up this gun by shooting 3 shots at 25 yards, adjusting our sights, then fine-tuning the sight adjustment with 3 more shots at 50 yards. To adjust your open sights, you adjust the rear sight in the direction that you want the point of impact to move. So if you're hitting low, you adjust the rear sight up. If you're hitting to the left, you move the rear sight to the right. Okay, O'Neil, are you ready to shoot the Accura V2?
I sure am, and as we've learned, the first step in the loading process is to make sure that the gun is unloaded. We do that by inserting a marked ramrod down the barrel. As you can see, it goes all the way down to my unloaded mark. So I'm good to go. Now I measure my powder. 90 grains of Pyrodex RS should do fine, pouring from the flask into the measure and then from the measure into the muzzle of the gun. Now I'll give it a bump or two just to shake the powder all the way down to the breech of the gun. Now it's time for my projectile, a 295 grain Powerbelt hollow point, and it's a .50 caliber, of course, because my gun is a .50 caliber. Now we place the bullet into the muzzle, then start it down the barrel with a Powerbelt bullet starter using the correct tips for a hollow point bullet. First the short start, then the long start. Now we go to the ramrod and push the bullet all the way down the barrel until it firmly seats on the powder. Note that this is all done in one smooth motion. There is no need to bang on the bullet, as this will only deform the bullet tip and cause you to lose accuracy. And now it's time to place the 209 primer into the breech plug. See how easy it is with the break action? Just open it up and pop it in there. Then close the breech. Now the gun is fully loaded, and all I have to do is cock the hammer like this. Fire in the hole, Chad. You all set?
Yep.
How's that, brother? Take a look.
That's a pretty good shot for an old guy.
When you got it, you got it. I still got it. Now we'll see what Chad can do with the Optima. He'll probably do just about as well. But before you do that, I want to emphasize something that's very important. You'll notice that Chad has a very high quality scope on this rifle. These Konus Pro scopes have what's called etched reticles, meaning that the crosshairs are actually engraved into the glass rather than being suspended wires. This is very important when it comes to strength and durability. And Konus Pro Scopes gives you this feature for much less than you would pay for other brands. In fact, Chad, wouldn't you say that having a quality scope is just as important as having a quality gun?
Oh, absolutely, O'Neil. But you know, just putting a good scope on a good gun is not a guarantee of accuracy either. A lot of people make the mistake of using the cheapest scope mounts that they can find. Now, if you do that, you've essentially wasted all that money that you've put into your quality scope and gun. Believe me, quality scope mounts are well worth the money, as they are the all-important link between your scope and your gun. Here on my Optima, we are using a Durasight dead-on system in which the base rail and the lower rings are all in one piece. Now this makes for an extremely strong design. In addition, Durasight mounts are made of Z2 alloy, a material that is 50% stronger than the highest grade aircraft aluminum. And best of all, these mounts are just a little bit more expensive than aluminum mounts. So with Durasight, for just a little bit more than you'd pay for aluminum, you get a lot more strength.
Now, as you think about it, accuracy is sort of like a chain. It's only as strong as its weakest link. And in this chain of accuracy, rifle, scope, and mounts, you really can't afford to cut corners on quality. And I know that this Optima setup is a good example of that because I saw Chad sighting it in earlier. Now, we're going to show everyone what it will do on that 100-yard target downrange.
Okay, we'll start out just like you did, O'Neal, testing the gun with a marked ramrod to make sure that it is unloaded. Then, I'll fire one primer, just to make sure that there is no oil or moisture down in the bottom of the barrel. With my gun, we'll be shooting IMR White Hots, which is pelletized powder, so we won't have to measure. And to demonstrate how the rifle would be reloaded in the field, we'll demonstrate the use of the Powerbelt Rotoload loader. My first two cylinders are already loaded, so I'll just show how the last one is prepared. First, we'll place the 300 grain Powerbelt Platinum, the Powerbelt that is made specifically for Magnum Charge shooting, nose first into the loader. And then, because we are shooting a Magnum Charge, I'll need 3 50 grain IMR White Hot pellets. I just close the cap over the cylinder, making sure the hole is lined up over the dummy chamber. And lastly, my primers go into these compartments right here.
That's pretty neat, Chad. Now show us how you would load it in the field. Can you do that?
First, I position these alignment tabs over the muzzle. Then, while holding the lower cover in place, I rotate the body of the Rotoload until the first cylinder opens over the muzzle. Once this cylinder is open, the white hot pellets and the Powerbelt bullet will fall into the muzzle. I turn the Rotoload around and use the built-in short starter to start the bullet down the barrel, just like this. Note that I have the correct tip on the short starter for the arrow tip bullets, which protects the bullet from deformation. Now, I'm ready to go to my ramrod. There's that loading tip again, and I just push the bullet down the barrel, using the Rotoload's palm saver to protect my palm as I firmly seat the bullet over the powder charge. I take a primer out of the Rotoload, open the breech of the Optima, place the primer into the breech plug, close the breech, and I'm ready to shoot. All right, everything looks good. I'll just cock the hammer. Here we go.
Oh man, that's a good shot. Bullseye. I'm not a bit surprised.
Well, you know, O'Neal, with a good gun, a good scope, and a good scope mount, and of course the right bullets and propellants, you can get these tight groups at 100 yards, and even out to 200 yards.
Okay, folks, that should give you a pretty good idea of what's involved with the loading and shooting of a muzzleloader. But remember, this is just a general overview and is not intended to take the place of your reading and fully understanding the instruction manual that came with your particular gun. In the next segment, we're going to show you how to clean the muzzle loaders. But don't worry, with these new guns, it's easy and you'll see.